have to prefer and choose what with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over the materialistic things of this dunya. It has to be this way. They have to choose what's coming ahead over the immediate desire that they have in this life. And when they struggle and when they strive, then this way of life, the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes their joy and becomes their habit. And this is what he says. And forgive me if sometimes for those who do not understand Arabic, they might drift away when we say these things. But it's it's nothing wrong with having our ears always used to this. He said, وَالْمُصِيبَةُ الْجَسِيمَةُ وَلَمْ يَنْتَبِهْ مِنْ هَذِهِ الرَّقْدَةِ الْعَظِيمَةِ وَالْمُصِيبَةِ الْجَسِيمَةِ إِلَّا الْقَلِيلُ مِنَ الْعُقَلَاءِ. Those who have wise wisdom, they are the ones that will understand the reality of things. وَالنَّادِرُ مِنَ النُّبَلَاءِ, as I mentioned before. فعلموا أن الخسارة كل الخسارة الاشتغال بما لا يجدي على صاحبه إلا الوبال والحرمان. The real deprivation, the real loss is when a person is busy with things that won't bring to him in the future, in the outcome of things, nothing but loss and deprivation and misery, which is basically this life versus the hereafter. Being forgetful, committing sins, forgetting about the purpose of our life. What's that going to bring you matters of goodness, even in this life? ولا يعوضه مما يؤمل إلا الخسران فآثروا الكامل على الناقص وباعوا الفاني بالباقي وتحملوا تعب التكليف والعبادة حتى صارت لهم لذة وعادة ثم صاروا بعد ذلك سادة فاسمع صفاتهم واستعن بالله على الاتصاف بها. Which means the few among the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones that chose the complete and perfect over what is deficient. Hereafter versus this dunya. And they sold the one that is vanishing and going away to the one that is everlasting, which is this dunya versus the hereafter. And because of that, they strove and they struggled and they were patient with matters of ibadah and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until it become again the joy of their life. So we need to reach that level. We need to make sure that we take the means so that the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our joy. And we need to take the means so that we would reach our final destination in peace, and that is to enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the only thing that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they gave the pledge to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this is their reward. Their hearts were not attached to anything of this dunya, a reward in this dunya, to be victorious, to be superior, to be nothing of this. They made the pledge to the Prophet ﷺ except one thing, and that is the reward in the hereafter, and that is to enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then now he says, let's listen to the characteristics of those people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised in the Quran. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned them in the Quran as they are the outnumbered one, the little ones, not the majority, they're always the minority. So as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْ عِبَادِيَ الشَّكُورِ, few among my slaves are the shakur, are the really grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, وَإِن تُطِعْ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ يُضِلُّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. If you obey most of the people on earth, they would lead you in matters of deviation. So the first thing is that the person has to make the decision that he doesn't care if he's among the minority. He's ready for this. This is one of the biggest fitnas to the people on earth. They want to fit in. This is how human beings are. This is a normal thing in the human nature. They don't want to be strangers among people. They want to fit in whatever communities, whatever societies, whatever world they live in. So for them to choose to be outcasts or minorities or whatever, definitely no human being would want to do this as a goal. The goal is to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if that leads to something like that, and to be strangers and to be the minority, mashallah, no problem. They are willing to do that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they will receive their joy in this life and hereafter. So the first line he says, سَعِدَ الَّذِينَ تَجَنَّبُوا سُبُلَ الرَّدَى وَتَيَمَّمُوا لِمَنَازِلِ الرِّضْوَانِ. Which means, سَعِدَ from السَّعَادَة, meaning they are happy. They receive the real happiness. Who are they? الَّذِينَ تَجَنَّبُوا سُبُلَ الرَّدَى. Those who stayed away from the paths of destruction and evil and so on. وَتَيَمَّمُوا, tayammum, right? But the literal meaning here linguistically means they sought by seeking something. That's what tayammum means, when you seek the earth to relieve oneself from matters of impurities, but not physical impurities. So وَتَيَمَّمُوا, that means they would seek لِمَنَازِلِ الرِّضْوَانِ, to the dwellings of the pleasure. So it has to be, the means of happiness is by do two things: الِاجْتِنَابِ وَالتَّيَمُّمْ, right? To leave something and to seek something. It doesn't work with one and not the other. And this is the way of the Quran. The way of the Quran, the characteristics of the believers, they're not just staying away from what is evil, and they don't just do things that is good and seek what is good. They have to have both. They stay away from what is evil and the paths of destruction, and they take the means to receive the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these people, there are so many ways of loss, and there are ways also of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They stayed away from turuq al-shaytan, the paths of the shaytan. And the opposite of that is وَقَصَدُوا وَتَيَمَّمُوا, and they sought عبادة الرحمن, the worship of Ar-Rahman subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَتَجَنَّبُوا طُرُقَ الْجَحِيمِ, they stayed away from the paths of the hellfire. وَتَيَمَّمُوا سُبُلَ النَّعِيمِ, and they sought and they go after the paths of An-Na'im, delight. So this life is about these opposites, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it, and also matters of actions and so on. Either this or that. تركوا السيئات وعملوا على الحسنات. They left the sayyat, the sins, and they did the good deeds. And they purified their hearts and their tongues and the parts of their bodies from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade and from the dislikes, and they made it busy with doing what is an obligation and what is recommended. So this is basically the life of the believers. Both. They do what is good and they stay away from what is evil. And of course that needs knowledge, needs the patience, it needs the help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how a person would again reach the means of happiness. In matters of dunya, materialistic things of this life, the disbelievers, they do the same thing. If they want to be happy according to their understandings of what happiness is. Someone wants to be a superior person on the face of earth, wealthy, rich, whatever there is, they will have to do both. They have to stay away from what make them lose, and they have to do something to make them gain. If they do one or the other, that's not going to happen. So the same thing, and that's why it's the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. You would find matters of the deen is in harmony with what the human beings understand. So as it is for matters of this dunya, also the matter of the hereafter, we have to stay away from what is evil, and we have to do what is good. And we have to learn these different paths so that we would choose to be on the right path, and there is no capacity for anyone to know that except by following the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And also they would have the good manners, and as a result of that they would stay away from the bad manners. So it's not enough for a person to have good manners and still keeping the bad manners in. No, he has to work on himself to get rid of the bad manners. So it's two fronts basically that a Muslim is always working on. Pushing away what is evil and bringing what is good. And this is how we as human beings, we have to work on ourselves like this. So this is the first statement, or this is the first principle. This is the path of happiness. To stay away from what is evil and to seek what is the means of the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says, the second line, فَهُمُ الَّذِينَ أَخْلَصُوا فِي مَشْيِهِمْ مُتَشَرِّعِينَ بِشِرْعَةِ الْإِيمَانِ. Two principles in this line. Right? Is it easier? Are you guys following? فَهُمُ الَّذِينَ, they are the ones, أَخْلَصُوا فِي مَشْيِهِمْ. This is the first principle. أَخْلَصُوا. The word إخلاص. They purified their path, فِي مَشْيِهِمْ, in their walking. Right? In the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they made it sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. They don't seek anything or any reward or any pleasure of anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an act of worship, al-ikhlas. متشرعين بشرعة الإيمان. متشرعين comes from sharia. They are in the state of having the sharia in them, meaning بشرعة الإيمان, and the sharia is the way. That's what the sharia literally means. So they are adopting the ways of al-iman. while they are sincere. And how is that? By following the deen of Islam, which is, as we heard many times before, the two principles, the two conditions for any deed to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Has to be sincerely for the sake of Allah, has to be according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ, has to be a correct deed. And that's why there is wahy. Sincerity alone is not enough. Unless people follow the revelation from Allah, that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the messengers. Human beings can do things that is good. It has to be only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. It has to be according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and that is what is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the characteristics of those who take the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just by wishful thinking, right? This is a very clear path, right? Because when we talk about the path of Allah and people like what they hear, this is not enough. It has to be very clear. The Prophet ﷺ said, تَرَكْتُكُمْ عَلَى الْحَجَّةِ الْبَيْضَاءِ, I left you on the white thing, on the clear thing. It's night is like it's day. So the ikhlas, the sincerity, tensions has to be only for the sake of Allah, has to be according to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is in all of their affairs, not just in the ibadah, but in all of their affairs. Then, the third line, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ بَنَوْا مَنَازِلَ سَيْرِهِمْ بَيْنَ الرَّجَى وَالْخَوْفِ لِلدَّيَّانِ. Each one by the way it's a lecture by itself, right? But we're just being brief. So the ikhlas and mutaba'ah, the sincerity in our ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following the Prophet ﷺ, these two things, so many things to be mentioned. Al-ikhlas by itself is 1/3 of this deen, or 1/4 of this deen, or even 1/2 of this deen, that we have to be sincere. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah. There is no one worthy of worship except Allah. And in mutaba'ah, to follow the Prophet ﷺ, that is Muhammadur Rasulullah, which is the whole deen of Islam. Everything we do has to be according to La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. And as we mentioned before many times, that the definition of al-ikhlas, one of the definitions of al-ikhlas that is so clear, is that a person does not seek the witness of anyone to their deeds except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That a person does not seek the witness for his deeds from anyone but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you would do the deeds, and it might happen that it's in front of people, like Salatul Jama'ah, but you're not seeking the witness of the people. You seek in the witness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, according to the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Then, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ بَنَوْا مَنَازِلَ سَيْرِهِمْ. We're talking about someone that is taken or going into the path of Allah. So this is like a route or a path that a person takes. So he's saying that they are the ones that build مَنَازِلَ سَيْرِهِمْ. That means when you're taking a path, you have to make sure that your path is being clear, and you would stop at certain places, you would have certain marks that keep you on the right path so that you're not lost. So these people, they build their manazil, and manazil is the plural of manzil. When you have a manzil, meaning that you settled in something, right? Or a dwelling, or a place that you live in. Manazil sayrihim, when they're taking that path, they have to be, or they have to go down in levels, or in certain dwellings. What does that mean? He refers to the levels of the ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For someone to reach the final destination, to reach the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have to fulfill these levels of ubudiyyah. What is the levels of ubudiyyah? Tawbah is a level. As he mentioned here, al-raja wal-khawf, the hope for the rewards of Allah, the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rida, to seek the pleasure and to be pleased with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His religion and the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, to be in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-iftiqar ila Allah, to be in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-inaba, to constantly return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to hear what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, to be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have the manners with Allah. These types of tawakkul ala Allah, to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are levels, meaning, and also this was mentioned before, it's not an act of worship that you will do once in a while. Well, this is a level that you stay in, and you leave it, but you don't leave it. You carry it with you to the second level, to the second place that you would stay in. So these acts of worship, it will be part of the believers till they reach the final destination. Meaning, if they repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the sin that they committed, this is not the end of the tawbah in their life. Tawbah becomes their way of life. They're constantly repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every day, the Prophet ﷺ used to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 100 times a day, as he said alayhi salatu wasalam, as in Sahih, the hadith in Sahih Muslim. Ya ayyuhan nas tubu ila Allah, fa in yatubu ilayhi fil yawmi atawam. That all people repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because indeed I repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every day 100 times. So this is a manzil, this is a place that you settle in. You don't leave it. It's not once in a while, it's all the time. The same thing what he mentioned here, the two things, al-raja wal-khawf. To seek or the hope for the reward from Allah and to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all times. Not just once in a while. Why? Because every day we have certain deeds to do. We have what we heard in the first line. We have to stay away from what is evil and we have to do what is good. To stay away from the evil, we have to have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What would make the person like a whoop to stay away from what is evil? If there is no fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the person would commit sins. Right? And also at the same time, the person has to seek the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do what is good. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with having this in ourselves, and that does not contradict with the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what drives us to do what is good is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and of course with that is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to seek the rewards from Allah, because these are all acts of worship. And when people say, no, you only worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's deficient. Because we're not better than the prophets and the messengers. They worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with all these acts of worship. And people, as human beings, they have something called al-khawf. They have something called fear. So if they don't fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will fear something else. So the believers, they fear none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They seek the reward and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And this is the manazil, right? Their istiqamah, their steadfastness on this all the time, because that will keep them always straight. So whenever they slip away, they immediately return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're consistently doing the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why what he says in explaining this line, وَذَلِكَ أَنَّ لَهُمْ نَظَرًا أي نظر إلى أنفسهم وتقصيرهم في حقوق الله. These people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to be among the people of Jannah, they look into themselves, and they would see that they are deficient, they have so much shortcomings when it comes to the rights of Allah. So that would bring what in themselves? The fear of Allah. They see themselves that they did not fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the right way, with all the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They cannot fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the most perfect way. Even if they would make sujood from the moment they are born till they die, they would still not fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, and He's the most forgiver subhanahu wa ta'ala. But still, they will always look into themselves as people that they are deficient and they have shortcomings. Because also, as it's mentioned before, this is something that also never should escape the hearts of the believers, that Allah created them as sinners, they commit sins, and because of that they deserve to be punished. That by itself should never ever make the fear of Allah escape the hearts of the believers. They deserve to be punished. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treat them with His justice alone subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be punished. All of us deserve by the justice of Allah to be punished. Except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on us. Except if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. So how can then a person, knowing this as a fact, and doesn't have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Because the one, when he thinks, no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would forgive me, mashallah, that's a good expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you know in yourself that you committed so much sins, and you still, we still fall into the matters of the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means we deserve, according to how human beings they deal with each other, they deserve the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nobody can guarantee that he would die in the state of the perfect iman and so on. That's why they need to have their hearts always attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the fear is what helps the person to be constantly steadfast on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the hope for the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? When they look into the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unto them. And how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed so much favors on them. And He guided them to be among the believers. So this is a good sign, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants goodness, wants something good for a person, He would guide him to His deen. This is an honor for a person to be a believer, for a person to be steadfast on the deen of Allah. This is an honor, that a person has to see himself, yes, as if he is chosen, right? But at the same time, he has the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he might slip away. So he lived with both, the hope for the rewards of Allah and the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this with everything, since this is a manzil, this is a place that would never leave us, it's like you do it with every act of worship. If you find yourself guided by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pray Fajr in Jama'ah, or to pray the As-Salat al-Khamsa, the 5 daily Salat in Jama'ah, this is an honor, this is a good sign. That if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He will for someone goodness, He would guide him to do these acts of worship. So the believers would feel honored and feel that they have been chosen to be among the very few among humanity, those who would go to the masjid or the house of Allah and pray in Jama'ah, in Fajr Salah, not just here but all over the world. This is the minority even among the Muslims, those who would make the Fajr Salah in Jama'ah. So this is a feel of honor. And at the same time, a person should fear that this can be taken away from him, because the majority are not doing this. So what is in him special than them? And he's human being as them, and he has temptations also, and he can slip away. And what if the deed is not accepted? So both the fear and the hope for the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And of course, they look into the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as He said, وَإِنْ عَمِلُوا سَيِّئَةً خَافُوا مِنْ عِقَابِهَا. If they do bad deed, they fear the punishment of it. وَرَجَوْا مَغْفِرَتَهَا بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ. And they hope for the maghfirah. So they fear the punishment and they hope for the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are always between al-khawf wal-raja. You can have this in the same day many times. Some fear, some hope. You keep going back and forth, because al-khawf alone, fear alone is not a healthy thing. This can make the person feel the qunut min rahmatillah, to be despair from the mercy of Allah wal-'iyadhu billah, which is an act of disbelief. And at the same time, too much raja with no khawf would make the person, feel relaxed, that he doesn't have to do anything. It's enough for him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose him to be this and that. And both are extremes, that the Muslim should always be between the khawf and the raja. So in their path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they're going between these two, and these are the muflihun, these are the successful ones. So it's not that it seems like khawf and raja, so they're not steadfast. This is steadfastness. Steadfastness on both. It's not being mutaraddid or being confused or anything. No, this is the steadfastness. Imagine someone as in the hereafter there is a salat, right? So they're both sides of the salat trying to pull you right to left. So if you go to the right, you fall. If you go to the left, you fall. So you have to balance yourself. And that's why when a person walking on something that is so thin, you would find yourself going right, and then you go to the left a little bit and you balance yourself. If it's correct to say that, or just to give us some understanding, this is how we feel and hope for the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to keep us steadfast on the salat in this dunya. And there's a salat in the hereafter. Whoever is steadfast on the salat in this dunya, he will be steadfast in the salat in the hereafter. With the khawf and the raja, the fear of Allah and the hope for the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's take just one more line and then we'll start with this point inshallah ta'ala. Number 4, to complete this khawf and raja. Then the third one, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ مَلَى الْإِلَهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ بِوِدَادِهِ وَمَحَبَّةِ الرَّحْمَنِ. These are the people, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ, right? He's repeating, وَهُمُ الَّذِينَ. These are the people, those who would enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are steadfast in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ مَلَى الْإِلَهُ قُلُوبَهُم. The ones that Allah, al-Ilah, the one to be worshipped, had filled their hearts, مَلَى قُلُوبَهُم, filled their hearts, بِوِدَادِهِ, by His love, وَمَحَبَّةِ الرَّحْمَنِ, and the love of Ar-Rahman, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he says here in the explanation, this manzila, this level, since we're talking about levels of those who in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the level of al-mahabba, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is aslul manazili kulliha. This is the origin and the root of all the levels of ubudiyya. This is the root of all the levels. Without the mahabba, there is no ubudiyya. Without the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is no ibadah to start with. Without the love of something, there is not even an action on the face of earth. People won't do anything if there's no love. Meaning, people go to work because they love money. What makes them move and drive and do things is the love of something. The love of comfort, the love of one another. And this is what drives people to do things. The believers, because this is in them as in their nature, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them, they choose that the thing that drives them and makes them move and stand and sit and do anything is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not too far away. See, the ibadah or the deen of Islam is not to take you away from being a human being. No, you have the same things that makes you a human being. Not too different than any human being. So as human beings, what drives them and make them do things is the love of something. Right? The human beings, being a believer, also what they would choose then, that what drives them and makes them do anything is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth. And how much difference between this and that. So the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is وَمِنْهَا تَنْشَأُ جَمِيعُ الْأَعْمَالِ الصَّالِحِ. The good deeds are always initiated from this. وَالْأَعْمَالُ النَّافِعَةُ وَنَزِلَ عَلَيْهَا. The high levels is all from the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the meaning of al-mahabba, as he says, تَعَلُّقُ الْقَلْبِ بِالْمَحْبُوبِ. The heart, when it's attached, and the ta'alluq, when something is attached to something. And that's from it even al-alaq, right? One of the stages of the embryo, that it hangs to the walls of the uterus. So when the heart is attached to the mahbub, to the one that it loves, that means it doesn't leave it whatsoever, right? It does not go away from it whatsoever. وَلُزُومُ الْحُبِّ لِلْقَلْبِ. That's why the hubb, or the love, stays in the heart. It is not once in a while. It stays there. فَلَا تَنْفَكُّ عَنْهُ. Does not, again, stressing the fact, the meanings, does not leave it whatsoever, does not depart from it. وَهِيَ تَقْتَضِي مِنْ صَاحِبِهَا الْإِنْكِفَافَ عَمَّا يَكْرَهُ الْحَبِيبُ. Which means, as a result of this love, would make the one that has this love in his heart al-inkifaf. You know, inkifaf means when someone is on his face, meaning that he's doing something and he's not thinking of anything else. He's busy. When someone is working, right, and he's looking at his desk or the screen of the computer, for example, for hours, and he's totally away from this whole world. This is when that person has that type of focus. So when the heart has the love in it, it will have this type of focus and attitude away from anything that the one that they love hates. Right? So anything that the one that they love hates, they would make sure that they're so focused that they would never do it. And the opposite of that, وَالْمُبَادَرَةُ إِلَى مَا يُرْضِيهِ. And to rush and to flee and to do the things that pleases him. People do that in this life, if they truly love someone or something. So the believers, they choose to do that with the creator of the heavens and the earth, and they do that بِقَلْبٍ مُنْشَرِحٍ. They don't do that if there is love, they would do it with an open heart, with the spaciousness in them, with happiness, right? Not with tightness and difficulties and hating it. That's not love then. People do things for the ones that they love, even if it looks like it's a physically burden, but they do it with so much peace in them. Like when you do something for your children, for your family, right? You do it when you're happy doing it, even though you might be so much tired doing it, but you're doing it with love. Why? Because you love those who you care for. The love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing is the like of it. So as a result of that, also one of the characteristics of those who have the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَإِن تَكَلَّمَ تَكَلَّمَ بِاللَّهِ. If that person speaks, he would speak by Allah, meaning by what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants him to speak. وَإِن سَكَتَ سَكَتَ لِلَّهِ. If he speaks for the sake of Allah. If he's quiet for the sake of Allah. There's a reason why he's quiet. Not because he's tired, but because he's quiet for the sake of Allah, because he knows that it's better to be quiet. And if he speaks for the sake of Allah. وَإِن تَحَرَّكَ فَلِلَّهِ. It's not exaggeration. If he moves any movement, it's for the sake of Allah. وَإِن سَكَنَ فَلَهُ. If he is second, sukun, quiet, if he doesn't do anything, it's also for the sake of Allah. That's why there is, in the deen, is حراسة التحرك. You know, when you secure your movements, people move, people do things. No, in the deen you do things and you don't do things, as it's been mentioned from the very beginning. So حراسة التحرك means that you're at home, you want to go out. But because of the iman and the belief, you think before you go out, where am I going? Am I going to a good place or to a bad place? And if it's a bad place and a time when everybody is doing sins and so on, you would choose not to go. So you did not move for the sake of Allah. And when you go out to go somewhere, you do it for the sake of Allah. So your movement, the opposite of movement, your static behavior, attitude is all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيَحْدُثُ عَنِ الْحُبِّ الشَّوْقُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. And when this love is there, the person would have a shawq. What is a shawq? Cannot wait till he meet the one that he loves. So the believers, they'll always be strangers. They always leave the strangeness till they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They always would feel this is not it. Right? When a person travels away from his home, he feels like what he's doing is not complete. He does not feel the comfort. Why? Because he can't wait till he go back. He's saving money, he's working, he's doing things, and his heart is attached to his family, to when he goes back. The believers, their place is Jannah. When they leave it, and the more they increase their iman, the more they would feel that strangeness, till they go back basically to their home, till they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is when they would reach the ultimate joy. So there is a need in the heart that would never be fulfilled till the believers, they see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's why this is the ultimate joy, and that's why they would sacrifice everything and anything for for them to reach this destination. Last sentence because of the adhan. يقول فلا يكاد صاحبه يستقر. That means the one that has this love would never be settled till he reaches destination, till he get to see the one that he loved. And that's why the believers always like this. So this is their joy that they have in this life, and they do things for the sake of Allah, and their hearts are attached to that final destination. And when the Prophet ﷺ would teach the Sahaba, when the Quran was revealed, he was not talking about establishment on this earth in the sense that this is your life, this is your this and that. It's all about the hereafter. Prophet ﷺ would tell them again, أَنَا فَرَطُهُ عَلْ الْحَوْضِ, I'll be ahead of you, waiting for you by the hawd. Hearts are attached there. Does that mean that they would leave the dunya and run away in the jungles and the deserts? No, none of them did that, right? But what they did is, they lived this life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them, and as a result of that, they were successful in this life and in the hereafter. So physically, people would do close or similar or close to what other people do, but their hearts are attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing their deeds for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, till they reach the final destination, which is again when they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We still didn't finish this part, which is definitely can take a long time, but we'll do it inshallah briefly with again this fourth line when it comes to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll continue inshallah ta'ala with more of this manzuma by Imam Sa'di rahimahullah. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Muhammad wa sallam. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت